Well, welcome to another Monday Mornings with Masterwall live with Grant and Brian. I am Brian, and with me is Grant Smithwick there. We are here to bring you education, entertainment, and engagement all at the same time within the stucco and EIFS community and greater construction community. So welcome, Monday, April 20th, 2020. Today we have Plastic Components guest speaker Herman Guevara. He has more than 30 years of experience in the building materials industry. He has lived and worked all over the world, including Argentina, Mexico, Puerto Rico. He holds a BA in Business Administration from the University of Michigan, for all of us Michigan fans. And he has a master's degree from Thunderbird School of Global Management. Way to go. He is active in many industry-wide places, AWCI, FWCCA, and others. Welcome, Herman. I am going to turn mine off, allow you to share your video, and you can start us off with your presentation.
Good morning. Great to see everybody.
Morning, Herman.
And we had a presentation last week with the people from Masterwall. It was a great presentation. And they decided to invite us back, which is surprising. But we're going to do an abridged version of what we did last week, and hopefully.
Yeah, you could tell everybody. You could tell everybody I butchered your presentation.
Killed
That's
me, man.
okay.
Killed me. Took a knife to me.
So that gives a warning to everybody as they come through, as they come onto the show next, that if they send me a presentation that's so long, I will butcher it, but you'll be okay. Don't worry.
All right. So. Go to the shared screen portion,
yeah,
yes?
Yeah, if you just hit shared screen, you're good to go.
All right. And I hit shared screen.
And hopefully it'll come.
I see a lot of shared screens. Okay, I think this is me, yeah?
Yeah, take it.
Okay, that's me?
Perfect, you got it.
All right, here we go. Not bad for an old guy. All right, so let's just get into this.
Hey, Herman.
Yes, sir?
There you go. Perfect.
Got it?
Yes,
You
sir.
good? Okay. Again, Plastic Components, we've been around since 1969. Miami-based. We have sales and distribution throughout the United States, Canada, Latin America, and the Caribbean, and a little bit over the Middle East and Europe. So we're excited to be here today. So we're going to talk about a little bit about trims in general, a stucco, traditional 3-coat, or sometimes we call it 2-coat over block down here in South Florida. What are the functions? The functions of the trims, of course, is design. There are some that provide for movement, durability, labor savings, quality of work, reduces cold joints. What I mean reduces cold joints is by putting these trims, you break up your walls, you know, that 144 square feet requirement, especially with control joints. That way you have a start and stop point when you're applying stucco. You got a point in case you need to take a break, cigarette break, lunch break, whatever. You don't leave a cold joint in the middle of your stucco wall. And moisture management, which is all the rage, right? You see on your right, classic corner bead, probably the #1 product that we sell. Then you have a casing bead on the left, and that's also known as a termination or stop bead. One thing about this industry, which is crazy, is there's a different way of saying things everywhere, you know? So that's one of the challenges. On the bottom there, they're showing some colors. We brought some colors out. This is mostly as we saw more and more stone veneer applications where they wanted a color to better match and hide the trims and to match the mortar joints. So that's kind of a fairly new addition to the family here at Plastic Components. I'm going to keep going, yeah?
Yeah, keep cranking.
Okay, all right, let me know. Another big point we want to talk about is control joints versus expansion joints. They are not the same. That's a big confusion in the field. On the left, you'll see pretty much the most popular, which is an M control joint. I'm sorry, a V control joint. And the next photo over is an expansion joint. You can see those are clearly two pieces. So control joints are made for shrinkage cracking. Expansion joints are made for true movement. A good way to know that is in the field, is that a control joint would typically be a one-piece part, where a expansion joint will be a two or sometimes even 3 pieces. This is important to note because I've been on jobs where there have been failures and they check the drawings and the drawing calls out for expansion joint, but it was value engineered somewhere along the way for a control joint, and then everyone starts pointing fingers, and that's never fun. Also have a complete line of vents, and vents have different attachment methods and different widths. The widths are typically called out by the design professional based on square footage of free airflow that they require.
Hey, Herman, one of the things, going back to what you said, the drawings, somebody will VE out a control joint or something like that. Do you find that architects also are confused between the two when you're talking with them, as much as you said in the field, people get confused about that?
You're right. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in
Okay.
the design community too. And that's something that we are constantly training on, But yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
And then we talk about, for some reason this thing gets in my way. Let's see if we can move this. One of these. Okay, there we go. Aesthetic reveals, another big mover in the stucco, 3-coat stucco industry. We added a few years ago aesthetic reveals, and the reason why is because people would confuse that and again think that they would act as control joints, and then they would have failures. So we added the word aesthetic purposely so people realize it is just for that. It's for design. And you're seeing your standard on the left, and then the next picture over is an F reveal. It just means F means in the industry with one leg cut off, and that would be like to butt against something. On the right, we're seeing weep screeds or sill screeds, or these are to be used at the base of your assembly to help moisture get out of, move away from the assembly. These are mentioned in the ASTM, so there's a lot of products that are mentioned in passing. I should say there are not a lot of products mentioned as part of the ASTM that this is kind of one of these that is a must. Now it's going to depend on whether your state building code is going to enforce it or the inspectors. But definitely we're seeing more and more weep screeds being used and being inspected. Next slide. Okay. There we go. CI, everyone knows what CI is. That's the continuous installation. This is part of the Department of Energy's move to try to make buildings more energy efficient. Of course, EIFS is the first CI, or the best CI, since I'm talking with Masterwall now. But there are some markets where they still prefer traditional 3-coat stucco. So there is a way to attain that continuous installation layer with 3-coat stucco. And we've developed some trims for this because obviously the devil's in the details. And when you start, putting 2 inches of foam on a wall and a 7/8 stucco coating, then you got to figure out how do you trim that out. So we've come out with 2 trims. One is the starter Trac with casing bead. It's a starter Trac. I like to say that went on a date with a casing bead and they had a baby. So it's kind of
I got a good question on this one for you, which just thinking about it now as we're talking, I know I find it on the jobs and even when I talk to the architects, what fasteners, or do you have a fastener that's specified in the system for the wire lap that's going to go onto that stucco system through the foam? I mean, do you guys recommend one?
We don't recommend. We boldly fly as far away from that as possible. But yeah, I mean,
that's good.
Yeah, I mean,
that's good.
Fasteners and fastener attachments are critical, critical, because you're cantilevering 9 pounds a square foot.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 inches to we've seen systems even beyond that. I don't think Masterwall wants to go much beyond 2 inches based on our last conversation. So yeah, this is a Cadillac system. This is not for a trunk slammer to install. This is for you gotta know what you're doing with this.
Yeah. Hey, and on this topic, Herman, Dennis had talked about this last week, but that insulation there has to be some kind of XPS type material. So we're not going to use EPS insulation in this stucco assembly. And also, like you said, the maximum is 2 inches is what we say. So 2-inch max there. And the Quikrete guys are on here, and Dale, you had asked a question about this last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if there's other questions about that, but just to address a couple points that were brought up the last couple weeks. So there we go.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, so basically we developed the starter track with the casing bead for the base of the wall, and then we have a window door track. And this has a corner bead built into it, so you can case out your openings. So these are new products, you know, trying to anticipate a need.
Yeah, I really like that window and door one for sure. Just not having to put a corner bead on there anymore. I mean, it's just all encompassed. It's really nice.
Yeah, one step. Taking steps out of the process. That's an advantage.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, continue.
Yep.
Yep. Also, Ultralath Plus, and this is something that we've had for a while. We were part of the team that developed the 3-part ASTM standard for non-metallic lath. So now it's since about 3 years ago, I think it's now in the ASTM. Of course, it's easy to install and handle. It's non-rusting. It's available in 75-foot rolls, 27 inches across. We even have a paperback option. And strip lath, you see the photo on the bottom, that's really become a big mover for us. Bridging to similar materials to help with crack mitigation. Ultralath Plus.
Herman, what is Florida doing with how they have the CMU for residential? This is for residential. What are they doing for the CMU on the first floor, changing to, say, wood studs on the second floor? Are they using a lot of this stuff from you guys just to eliminate some of that cracking? Or some of those?
I mean, so we're seeing a lot of this used, of course, on coastal applications. Yeah. CMU, as you know, is typically direct applied. So they don't use lath at all. But yeah, as a transitional piece, yeah, transition
Okay.
and to cover your framed applications, certainly.
So Dale, in that detail, you'd have some kind of termination there with a true expansion joint for
Well,
dissimilar.
there's a
dissimilar
great
materials.
product
Yeah.
called a midwall. We didn't show it here, but there's a midwall control joint, which is pretty much what everyone's using as a transitional piece.
Okay.
We can send it out.
We get so many questions or so many comments about that. Why are we get cracking at that specific spot? And always bring up, you know, did you use a transitional piece or did you use an expansion joint, a true expansion joint at that time?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and this midwall part, which again I can send out to you, Dale. It was developed after the hurricane season of 2000. What was that? 5, where we had like 3 or 4 hurricanes rip through Florida.
Right.
And there was a lot of moisture penetration, especially at that point where you had block transitioning into frame. And there were several studies. I think the biggest one was sponsored by the Builder Association of Central Florida, you know, about this whole issue. And that product came out of that hurricane season. But yeah, I'll definitely send it. I'll definitely send it out to you, man.
Thank you.
Great question. You guys are making me work on a Monday, man. Come on.
This is what we're about. Monday mornings with Masterwall, man. Best day of the week. Go ahead, crank on. Anything else? Mike Everett, did you have a question? I didn't know if you.
No.
Okay. All right, you're good. Go ahead, Herm.
The best thing about Mondays with Masterwall is I know it's Monday.
That's right. We're all confused on the days and what
Yeah.
date it is, right?
And I took a shower, so thank you.
There you go. Perfect.
So we talk about relevant standards on stucco, and of course, 1063, 926 have been around since, you know, Jesus was a child probably. I had hair when this thing's been sold. Of course, they keep updating and making adaptations and changes to it.
Herman, the Smithwick still had hair when that happened.
We all had hair. You had my hair. But there have been some bigger changes in that there's a new standard called 1861. That's for accessories and fasteners. So they pulled that out of, I think that was in 1063. They pulled that out and created their own separate standard on that. So that's important to note. And then these are the non-metallic glass standards that I was talking to you about.
Now, I'll say something on this too, though, Herman, because I think this is one of those pieces where, you know, I'll tell the architect, you know, lean on your product reps to know this information and the applicators, because yeah, you have so many, right? The architects have so many divisions to worry about, so many things to think about. And for every applicator or sales rep who is selling anything within these two markets should have these pieces in their hand. I mean, this is like the Bible of doing what we do, knowing exactly what the standards are so we can point to what those standards are. I mean, I can go back, 15 years ago when I was standing behind a counter and people wouldn't have a clue of even just what self-furring lath was or something like that. And that's a standard that's been there forever. And so I think this is really important for everybody to make sure they can get this. And like you said, going to the website and buying these, they're not expensive for, what it's worth.
Yeah, the cheapest way is to join the ASTM, which is like $75 a year, and you get all these standards for free. If you buy them individually, I think they're like $200 each or something, 150 each. So join the ASTM. Also have a voice in your industry, because if you don't, other people will make changes to the industry that will affect you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I agree. Preaching to the choir, my friend.
There you go. Keep it cranking.
All right, keep it going. Keep it going.
We're good.
Okay, now we're in the EIFS and DEIFS section. And we're just going to point out a few products here. One of my favorite products, and I see you put it on first, because you must have liked that presentation.
I did.
Was the brake reveal. I call it the Whoops F reveal.
I like that.
This is a PG show, PG-13.
That's
and,
right.
and what it is, it's just basically a surface-mounted reveal. So when you're doing a job, let's say cement board, and the designer says, "Oh, I wanted a line here," and you're like, damn, I don't want to cut the board. I don't want to. So this is a way of just, putting this up, and then you're just able to put your base coat and mesh, and and you get a nice line there. So it's of course it's just for aesthetics, but it's really been a little surprise of a product. And quarter beads, probably the biggest thing to talk about there is our quarter bead with mesh, pre-attached mesh. The EIFS mesh, what is that, 4.3 ounce, I think. So again, to improve job quality and labor savings, and get you off that job as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Keep going.
Good.
Then we talk about kind of more of our traditional products. Of course, we have window door drip edges, but they also come with, some people that know this, come with a end cap or end dam, which, because we got a lot of feedback from designers saying, "Wait, great, I love this drip mechanism above my opening, but now what about the ends? How do we do the?" And I started looking in some of the verbiage, and it was like, "Oh, just put some caulking in there, just." It's kind of like the old paint will get it, So we developed some end caps to go along with these products, and just kind of give you a better quality system. Of course, we have the entire. Go ahead.
Herman, is there a performance difference between a drip edge and a starter track as far as moisture or anything, or is this just a preference by the installer?
That's a great question, because a drip edge is gonna allow for more moisture to get out of your system because of the design, right? There's no front plate on it. There's not,
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, we have a drip edge called an EMT, SBEMT. It's got a higher back flange. This one's, the one you're seeing on the left, is about 2. This one is a 3, because it's made for the base of the wall, and it was actually developed for the Canadian market because they had to move larger quantities of moisture out of their assemblies. So the answer is yes. If you're going to move a lot of moisture out of or anticipate, then something with an open type design is going to allow for that. The ones with the front, like you see in the starter tracks, these ones, are for incidental moisture. We're not looking to move tons of moisture out of there. Mm-hmm. They're weeped at the base, and you can have it with a drip edge or without a drip edge.
Yeah, and I think it's become kind of installer preference. Some guys prefer the drip edge. Some guys still prefer the starter tracks, and I think it's just a preference by the installer and by the design of the architect.
Yeah. And we also have the U drip track, which is kind of the one size fits all. It's really irregardless of the. Is that a real word? Or regardless, irregardless? Well, whatever.
Yes, irregardless.
Yeah.
Anyway, it will accept different foam shapes, because we get our trims go to 4 inches, which I'm certain we have the largest offering of Tracs that go up to 4 inches. But every once in a while, I get a call from somebody. I got a 6-inch, system. I got an 8-inch. I'm like, what the heck are you building, dude? So, for something like that, you're probably going to use a window door drip type edge type product, like on the left, at a 4-inch dimension, which is our maximum. At least it's going to kick it out, right? Or you could use the U-drip Trac. But yeah, you're going to get some weird requests, and then we try to figure out, okay, I might not have exactly that product, but here's the next best option.
Yeah. And one more question on this, on a drip edge. So is there a minimum allowance? So if the foam were to go up to 4 inches, does that leg or whatever that's called, the bottom piece, does it have to extend a certain amount under that foam piece, or is that just up to the installer? So at the bottom there, you're showing a detail.
Yeah. I don't know if you might have to back wrap if it's sticking out, right? Keep that foam protected. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah. My Masterwall is going to require a back wrap there on that drip edge.
Yeah. At the very worst. Yeah. At the very least.
Yeah. And maybe if Dennis is on, he can explain.
Yeah. Can I phone a friend? Dennis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah. I'll enter that question and let Dennis answer it. I'll put it in the chat.
There you go.
Okay.
Thanks.
Do I keep going?
Yep. You're
Okay.
good.
Oh wait, I didn't do this. I'm supposed to do this.
Switch halfway,
I
right?
got to pay for my sponsors, right?
That's right. Make sure they're paying you the big bucks, right?
That's right, the big buck. Isn't the draft this week? Anyway,
Yeah.
maybe we'll get somebody.
Doubtful.
Of course, I grew up in Detroit, so I've gone from one crappy team to another. Anyway, vents again. So we have all types of vents, and with different attachment methods, surface mounted, a little clamp type shape. So it's going to depend on your board dimension and the width required by the designer. And we have, for these type of products, control joints. Some are surface mounted. Some the board will actually see on the right install into it, and some the one in the middle on the left. The yellow one in the middle there has actually a depth to it, so you can. That's one of the things we didn't discuss was a screed. One of the uses of these products is to provide a screed. The screed is it's kind of a depth gauge screed. Sometimes they say ground, and what it does is if you're the designer and you designed a job, let's say 3-coat stucco to be 3/4 inch, you want to make sure it's 3/4 inch, and they're not giving you a 1/2 inch job because it might not meet the wind loads or whatever requirements that you had designed for. So you buy screeds that are 3/4 inch. You buy accessories that are 3/4 inch, and they're going to have a 3/4 covering. And conversely, if you're the contractor, you want to make sure your guys don't go too heavy on the stucco and put an inch of stucco on there, or even 7/8, because that's money out of your pocket. That's part of your profit. So one of the functions of these trims, a very important function, is that both sides protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It comes to thickness of systems. Yep. Page down. Okay, these are other cool parts, as I call it, for lack of a better term. But and some of these came out of, I don't know if I want to even go there. But anyway, they were systems to repair. Let's just say some installations that weren't up to par. There's a sill wedge that, this is to create a drip that's on the bottom left underneath your window. Create that what would they call that? That offset, right? So that you're going to have moisture move towards the front of the window, 3 and 5 inches. These are typically repair type stuff. There's also this little bridge joint on the right, and they were using this above windows when they were having problems. They didn't want to tear out a window. They could just slide it in and create a little drip mechanism there. So these are kind of cool products. Again, we've been in the business 51 years. There's some stuff in here that I wasn't even around when they brought them out, And I had hair.
I think this is the best thing here is noticing the fact that it's all about the moisture, right? The water management of what we're doing. That's the ultimate piece of it is keep it out so it doesn't damage everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. And doesn't make a lot of lawyers more money.
That's right.
I'm sorry, are there any lawyers on this call? Not just other things on our website, we have a submittals program, which will help you produce professional submittals. You just kind of punch in the product and it'll put it all together in a nice PDF. We have online CE courses, a course right now. We're about to update. And we're always putting on training videos. So visit our website and you'll find all this good stuff. It's just plasticcomponents.com, www. One C in the middle, we couldn't afford two. That's my story.
That's awesome.
And then we put a link to a bunch of industry groups and associations that we think are very good to have in your toolbox. If you're looking for more information on stucco and how to install and maybe details or stuff specific to your markets, these are groups that we're very active with and have a lot of information. So it's good to have in your toolbox.
Yeah, and Herman, I'll just plug for you guys real quick. Plastic Components is very involved in the stucco and EIFS industry, and we as manufacturers appreciate your involvement there. So just an encouragement to other manufacturers to be involved, because it really brings the quality, hopefully, of the installs on these projects up to another level when we're all partnered together, trying to create the best walls possible.
Yeah,
that's right. We are pig committed to the industry. And that's not making fun of my waistline, which is becoming more pig.
And it's one of those things, right, that we want to say, like, to anybody. It's like, don't complain unless you're going to be helping be part of the solution too. So being part of these industry member things is being part of the solution when there is a problem or something. Then great. You know what? Plastic Components can help figure that out if it hasn't been done before. Being as innovative as you guys are, for sure.
Yeah, and the best ideas, I always say, come from the field. They don't come from a fat guy behind the desk. They come from the field when there's an issue, problem, challenge. We'd love to hear from you. That's where we develop the best products.
Yeah.
Is that the last slide?
Was there one more?
No, that's it.
That's it, right?
Hey,
yeah.
Herman, you left Florida walls and ceilings off of your listing there.
I did?
Janice is going to
she's going to kill me.
Really beat you up about that.
Well, Florida, but actually Florida walls and ceiling does not do the technical side. That's Florida lath and plaster.
All right.
Whoa, nice recovery.
Nice recovery. If you go ahead and stop your presentation.
Okay.
Then it will kick over to everybody's on the screen, which is great and fine, and everybody can stay there and whatever you want. It's just about 11 o'clock. We're going to open up for discussion, just so everybody knows. At 11 o'clock, feel free to go ahead and cut out. Not going to be anything specific, but feel free to put on your video. Feel free to unmute yourself whenever you want. You should be able to do that. And I'll just open it up. The biggest thing, though, I'll open up with one question first would be, if you had to answer this question, why plastic components? Why should somebody really be dedicated as an applicator or a architect specifier? I'm going to put it into that camp, because we could say Masterwall loves plastic components and the partnership that we've had with you. But why plastic components? Should somebody choose it?
Well, besides being the best looking people out there.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a thumb up from two guys.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, what will I tell you is that we are dedicated, we are committed, we are pig committed to this industry. That all we do are plastic trims. We don't do metal. We just do plastic every day, 24/7, and we stand behind our product and always have. And we've been here for 51 years, and we're looking for the next 50.
Great.
Yeah, and since Rick took his Florida Gators flag down from behind him, we may extend our partnership a little more. How about that? Maybe we'll keep warranting your product now that he's got that Gators flag down.
Yeah,
Herman,
that's awesome.
Herman, take a look at that.
Oh, Dale's got Ohio State.
Oh no!
What's the world coming to? Oh God.
See, this is the typical too when I get to joke with my Southern friends down there who are all care about college football, and I say about go Rutgers, right? Like we're talking about,
Goodness.
who cares?
Who's that? Who's that?
Oh no!
Get out of here.
Oh my goodness. Are there
Herman,
any other?
thanks for doing this, man.
I'm gonna break it home. Is there any other questions specific? I want to make sure we hit some questions. We can banter all afternoon for sure, but are there anybody else out there questions? Just unmute yourself. Go ahead and pop it out.
I have a question for Herman.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
What do you do, Herman, when you see recommendation from an architect or a builder or general contractor that is telling the subcontractor to go above the thickness specified by ASTM. So for example, on block, you know, we're normally here in Florida is 5/8 and framing, which is 7/8, and they tell them, oh no, yeah, on block I want, you know, 3/4 or 1 inch, and 7/8 I want it to be 1 inch or 1.25 inches. What I mean, of course, that is detrimental in my view, but from your perspective, do you guys have a letter, or do you guys have any type of recommendation, you know, that we could get so that we can share with subcontractors?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's verbiage is in the ASTM, where it was. I have to review it, where, you know, they're calling for stucco not to be more than 7/8 of an inch, and beyond 7/8, it becomes a repair job. You have to put another layer of lath. So, but we can find that. I'll go back in and try to find where that language is for you. But yeah, I mean, it's that I believe is pretty clearly stated in the.
It is stated in the ASTM. You're absolutely right. But you know, I've seen many cases. I mean, it's not every other week, but it's somewhat common. You know, that for some stupid reason they have the notion that the thicker the stucco, I guess, the better it will be. You know, not understanding how it works, I guess, you know?
Yeah, I know. And then the contractors are taking a risk, because if there's a failure and the consultant comes out and starts measuring the thickness of the stucco, and sees that he's been putting on 1 inch stucco, that's a big no-no.
Which is going to go to the point of what you said with the consultant and any code reporter people that are coming out, third-party inspectors. Do they know? I'll be brutal because do they know what they're talking about, right? Did they go to class? Have they been have they talked with the industry? Are they part of the industry standards, or are they just going based off of maybe what has been and not necessarily what's updated? And so
there's a lot that are very, very, I'm sure there's a whole range
correct
of people out there, but there's a lot. I mean, you go to the ASTM meetings, and unfortunately, it tends to be heavily consultant, you know, that they go, where it should be more contractors to really defend the contractor's position. So the consultants are very active, especially in the writing of the standards. And that's always been a battle, you know?
Hey, Chris Little's on here. Chris, I can unmute you. Do you want to speak to that a little bit, since you're very involved?
Chris will know.
Yeah, Chris, about the thickness of the stucco, what's code required or code called out versus what an architect designs.
Is he here? I didn't see him.
He's there,
Okay.
but
He's there, but
not be.
There he is. Oh, he might not be on.
Okay, so I pulled it off mute.
There you go. Hey, Chris.
Hey, good morning. Herman, great job. Good info and good support here for Master Wall and the efforts they're making on the Monday mornings. As far as the thickness, as Herman said, C926 kind of defines that in Table 3. It gives what a max thickness is, I believe, is listed in there as well. When you start getting above those thicknesses in that table on 3-coat work, they start talking about additional reinforcement. So, Carlos, kind of back to your point, normally I like to look at the conditions and what the applications are, and then kind of write a specific letter to that condition and really defend that, if you will. But it really comes down to education, educating these designers up front and helping them understand that, helping them understand that when they reference that C926, then, that means something, that there's parameters built around that. So just because you want to run, 1.5 inches of thickness up there or whatever, that's really not okay when it comes to the trade itself. So, but by the same token, there are conditions where maybe they're trying to bridge the gap in a retrofit project or restoration job, and they think the only way to take care of filling that is to build it up with the plaster. So you have to look through some of that and try to make sure you understand the specifics and then address it. And I'm sure Herman does the same way on his end that we do as well.
Excellent. Chris, and by the way, you are a good-looking man, all right? Sorry.
Yeah. Brian, I have another question. Since Chris and Herman are both on. So with the insulated stucco systems, are we still looking at the 7/8 inch? Say in Florida, since Carlos asked the question, where 7/8 over frame sheet construction is required. If it's an insulated stucco system, say with 1.5 inches of XPS, with the plastic lath or metal lath, is it still up to those thicknesses?
Yeah, I've seen 3/4 and 7/8.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the 7/8 is, I mean, that hasn't gone away. Grant, what I would say is the one-code systems that have an ES report on them tend to be what's more so dominant, particularly in the western U.S., where they've had tradition and history and experience. We really haven't had that back east for the most part. And I think, you know, there are some thresholds as it relates to thickness in the east. The more intense environment, particularly in coastal areas, put on stucco or plaster. So you need those heavier thicknesses, I think, to kind of handle it and manage the environment in the east more so than you do in the west. But the parameters and standards really haven't changed.
Thank you. Hey, and just so everyone knows, Herman and Chris are not being paid for this. So thank you guys for volunteering your time to educate everybody. It's really valuable. And it'd definitely be worth the money if we were paying you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your time and the opportunity. And, you know, this is, we're all learning. This is a great opportunity. I hope next time I see all of you, we're having a drink somewhere, you know?
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
And to bounce that, I mean, one of the things that we're trying to do, again, as people are on here, just to catch them before maybe they hop off, as we move forward, I mean, it's consistently going to hopefully grow. And as far as communication between all of us for education, entertainment, as we got this morning for sure. Next week, for those who want to know, next week, we're actually going to be interviewing the founder and president of Masterwall, Steve Smithwick. Love the hat. Look at that, Herman. That's great.
Had to bring it out.
And then going from there with other companies like Dow Chemicals, ABAA Association, and Georgia Pacific, and so on from there. Quikrete, Dale, I know you're going to be doing yours in June 1st. So we've got a lineup here that hopefully will benefit everybody within the industry, both architects, applicators, GCs, even ownership. So if there's anybody that's out there that you know of, just kind of push it out to them. We would love to have them to come on. And again, just this type of thing, a half-hour quick information to really educate the industry so that, you know, we all know and are on the same page. And then we all, as sales reps, at least in this world, won't get asked the crazy questions that really they should know if they're reading the standards, right, that are out there and that kind of thing.
And Brian, I'm probably a little biased to Steve, considering he's my father. But just so everyone knows, that conversation is going to be more about, you know, culture and how you build a culture within an organization, how to work through difficult times.
Yeah, exactly.
Leadership through difficult times. Obviously, he's been through several storms in the last 30 plus years of operating Masterwall and being the president. So I think it'll be a good opportunity. I hope a lot of people join us just to learn about culture and what Masterwall is all about, but more applying those principles to whatever organization you're involved with.
I know he was been a basketball coach. It was one of the things I was writing down as I was thinking about, okay, what are these Monday mornings with Masterwall really kind of about? And I think a lot of it is, you know, if you're a basketball player, you may know how to dribble the ball and stuff, but to really become a student, I know last night I watched the first Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, 2 episodes, and you start to see, like, he spent hours and hours and hours at doing that. And whether it's sales and you want to become better at sales, which I know our team is jumping on a call with the Wizards Summit thing here today as well, whether it's application, knowing more what to do, whether it's architecture and knowing how, like you said, Herman, in the very beginning, how to specify things the right way, making sure that it gets done that way, because that is the best way to do things. And then value engineering, this whole thing out there, which is basically just cheaping out the job, wouldn't even exist, right? If everything was done well from the very beginning. So any other questions out there?
No, just one comment that I have. I mean, I think what you guys are doing is a great idea. I think, you know, what you just said, and just to hone in on what you said, Brian, and definitely, you know, also what Grant said, Herman, Chris, you know, thank you for the time. And I hope that more and more people can join, and, you know, several customers that, you know, didn't get a chance, or because we don't do the wet roll demos as often as we would like to and whatnot. I believe it's this live, you know, Q&A or learning. It's definitely intricate to the part of the business we're in.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, constant learning is something that we definitely need to have and continue to do to be better at what we do, all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is being recorded, yeah?
It
Correct?
is. So we'll end up
Yes.
putting this up on our YouTube channel. And it is one of those things where I'm going to, as much as we can, unless there's some reason we just can't, keeping it live where we also see each other. I did not want to do a webinar for this type of thing. I wanted to be able to allow anybody to be on here, show your face, and talk it through and talk it out live. Rather than just a simple webinar thing. And then we have other resources for that. Herman, like you said, go to Plastic Components website. You can see their webinar pieces and their education thing there too. And it's nothing to knock anybody else's that they're doing it already. It's just really bringing a show for a half hour, 45 minutes type of thing. So spread the word. I mean, look, we had a lot of people come on today. We had a lot of people signed up that can't make it each week, and that's fine. But yeah, this education part of it, and again, hopefully we can also have some entertainment with it as well, as we talk things through. So any last questions?
Hey, so only thing I'll say, Brian, anybody that's on, if you would like to be a special guest, just let me or Brian know that you would like to be a special guest to discuss your organization and your partnership with the EIFS industry or Masterwall in particular.
Yep.
And we will certainly venture into how we can make that happen.
Well, thanks again for a great Monday Mornings with Masterwall. I appreciate it. Enjoy it and have a great Monday.
Rick, get out of here.
Thank you.